of the London workforce. Rodney stared at the canisters. Del, you've bought a box of air? Not just air, Rodney. Alpine air. It's the latest craze in Brussels. All the top executives are using it to stay sharp. One puff of this, and you're ready to take on the world. I've got 2,000 canisters arriving tomorrow. How much did they cost? Cassandra asked, her eyebrows reaching for her hairline. A bargain. $5,000 for the lot. We sell them at £5 a puff, a canister, and we're looking at a £10,000 profit. Tax-free, naturally. Del, the air in London is free, Rodney pointed out. Dirty, yes, but free. Free but filthy. Rodney, this is pure. It's Trotter Fresh. I've already got a marketing slogan. Don't just breathe, peak performance. Chapter 15, The Charity Gala and the Smog. The timing of the Alpine oxygen launch couldn't have been more perfect. A thick, yellow smog had descended upon London, turning the city into something resembling a giant bowl of pea soup. People were coughing, spluttering, and generally desperate for a breath of something that didn't taste like coal dust. This is it, routers, Del shouted, loading the van. The market will be screaming for this. We're going to be heroes, like the Red Cross, but with better jewelry. They set up their pitch in the heart of Peckham. Del was wearing a white lab coat he'd borrowed from a local dentist, and Rodney was standing by with a megaphone. Feeling sluggish, lungs feeling like a chimney sweep's waistcoat, Del shouted, "Get your Trotter Fresh Alpine oxygen. One puff and you'll think you're skiing in St. Moritz." A crowd gathered instantly. People were clamoring for the canisters, waving £5 notes in the air. For 2 hours, it was a frenzy. Del was sweating, his lab coat stained with fog, but he was grinning like a Cheshire cat. I told you, Rodney, vision, that's what I've got. But then the first complaint arrived. A man who had just bought 5 canisters came back, looking less than revitalized. "Oi, this canister is empty," he shouted. "Empty? Impossible," Del said, taking the canister. He pressed the nozzle. A faint, wheezing sound emerged, followed by a smell that was definitely not reminiscent of the Swiss Alps. In fact, it smelled remarkably like Brussels sprouts, Rodney whispered, sniffing the air. "Brussels sprouts," the man roared. "I'm breathing in a Sunday dinner." Chapter 16, The Reality of Fresh Air. It turned out that Nifty Neville's Brussels contact had been slightly less than honest. The canisters weren't filled with Alpine air. They were a surplus batch of industrial-grade gas used in a Belgian vegetable packing plant. The crowd quickly turned from desperate customers to an angry mob. Del and Rodney barely made it to the van before the first tomato hit the windshield. "Start the engine, Rodney, start the engine," Del screamed. The Reliant Regal coughed, spluttered, and then roared to life, screeching away from the market just as a hail of empty canisters rained down around them. Back at the flat, the silence was deafening. Raquel and Cassandra were waiting, their arms crossed. So, Raquel said softly, "How did the peak performance go?" Del sat down at the table, his lab coat torn and his pride even more so. "Well, we had a bit of a technical glitch. The Belgian atmosphere is a bit more robust than I anticipated. You lost 5,000 pounds, Del," Cassandra said, her voice like ice. No, not lost. Invested in a lesson, Del corrected weakly. And besides, we've still got the canisters. They're very durable. We could use them as doorstops." Rodney looked at his brother, and for a moment he felt a surge of anger. But then he saw the exhaustion in Del's eyes, the way his shoulders slumped. He realized that Del was just trying to get them back to where they were, to the glory days of the Harrison watch. "It's okay, Del," Rodney said, sitting down next to him. "We've still got the 44,000 from the game show. We're not broke." Del looked up, a small smile playing on his lips. "You're right, Rotters. You're right. And I've heard a rumor about a shipment of slightly damaged electric toothbrushes in Gravesend. They're sonic, apparently. Very modern." Raquel sighed and walked over to the kitchen. "I'll make some tea. And Del." "Yes, sweetheart. No more air from anywhere." "Promise," Del said, crossing his heart with a gold-ringed finger. He winked at Rodney. "But toothbrushes, Rotters. Everyone's got teeth, haven't they? It's a guaranteed winner." As the kettle began to whistle, the Trotters sat together in the heart of Peckham, a family built on dreams, disasters, and an unbreakable bond that no amount of Belgian sprout gas could ever truly tarnish. Chapter 17, The Gravesend Gamble. The trip to Gravesend was conducted in a silence that was only broken by the rhythmic thwack-thwack of a loose wiper blade against the windshield. Del was focused, his hands gripping the steering wheel as if he were piloting a fighter jet through enemy territory. Rodney, on the other hand, was reading a pamphlet about business ethics and social responsibility, looking like a man about to go to his own execution. "These toothbrushes, Del," Rodney said, not looking up. "Nifty Neville said they were slightly damaged." "What does that mean in nifty terms? Does it mean they don't have bristles, or do they just explode when you plug them in?" "Don't be so cynical, Rodney. It's cosmetic damage," Del explained, weaving through traffic. "A few scratches on the box, maybe a slightly wonky logo. But inside, pure sonic technology, 20,000 vibrations per second. It's like having a miniature jackhammer in your mouth, but, gentle." They reached a warehouse that looked even more derelict than the one in Sidcup. A man named Shifty Arthur, a close associate of Nifty Neville, was waiting. He gestured toward a mountain of crates. "There they are, Del, the Ultrasonic 3000. experimental model, straight from the lab in Japan.